Hello everyone and welcome to the Hunter Association, your source for all things Hunter x Hunter. My name is Kaige.
And my name is Dylan.
And on this week's episode, we are launching our character retrospective series, and this one is on Kurapika. Couldn't think of a better character to start with. Very topical right now, and effectively he is our main character at the moment, so...
Yeah, for sure.
Felt right.
Good launching off point for this series, I think, so looking forward to talking about it.
Yes, absolutely. And then, of course, after that, we will be going through our community comments. If you'd like to join in on the community and have your comment read, be sure to comment on the YouTube version, either on the video or on the community post. Also, make sure to like and subscribe to help grow our community of Hunter x Hunter fans. Additionally, if you'd like to know when new episodes are live, click the bell to enable notifications. If you are an audio listener, make sure to rate and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and follow us on Twitter at TXHXAPod, as well as Bluesky at just THAPod, for podcast-related updates and to submit responses to the weekly call-out posts. If you'd like, you can also still email us at hunterassociationpod@gmail.com. As always, we've provided timestamps in the description if you'd like to skip ahead to any of the aforementioned segments.
That's right.
That's right. Have you guys heard that one before?
It's almost as if we're reading off the script for this part.
Almost. It's almost like it. So, a little bit of news. Actually, there's absolutely no news at all. Never mind.
There's not been a lot. Yeah, no. Nothing to speak to. Really.
No tweets, nothing.
Nothing at Jump Festa. Nothing. Yeah.
No, we've had nothing. Despite not having an episode last week and having 2 weeks of news to cover, there is still no news.
Sad.
Alas. But, hey, for us, remember, guys, next Saturday, we are hosting our live stream and announcing the winner to our giveaway of the Hunter x Hunter 2011 Anime Complete Series on Blu-ray.
It's all right here, Steve.
Hey, it's right there. Be sure to sign up now. You have until Saturday. This is the final reminder on an episode, so make sure to get in there while you can.
Yeah, as of this episode being uploaded, we should have the live stream link up on the YouTube channel. So be sure to, have that bookmark, check that out whenever you can. And we'll be there on Saturday, January 11th. And it should be a good time. We'll have a Q&A going. We'll be visiting some old Hunter x Hunter games that hasn't been released outside of Japan. And again, we'll be announcing the winner of the giveaway as well. And another reminder as well, if you want to enter the giveaway, note that it's only open to U.S. and Canadian residents at this time. And aside from that, we hope to see you there on Saturday.
Yes, sir. And about the Q&A for the live stream, if you want to submit a question to that, look out for a call-out post on YouTube and all of our other social media accounts.
Yep.
If on Monday, I think we're going to put that out. So tomorrow, if you're watching this as it comes out. And just submit that and we'll read them on air. And we will take questions live as well, around that time too. So be there or be square, as they say.
That's right. You don't want to miss it.
All right. So with that, I think we're just ready to talk about Kurapika. You ready, Dylan?
Yeah, I'm ready. It's going to be a good one.
All right. Welcome to our character retrospective for Kurapika. So we, I do got to give our due diligence to our actual first character retrospective, which was on Owl. It's my greatest shame to keep saying this is our first when in actuality this is our second character retrospective. I apologize once more to Owl.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Owl.
Sorry guys. No disrespect to Owl at all. We want to make sure he's. And we're keeping him in mind. We're trying to. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
In our mind and in our hearts,
yes.
Of course. Even though he's still alive.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so Kurapika. Enough with the jokes. We're getting down to business.
Okay.
This is about Kurapika. And now, since this is our first, real character retrospective, I kind of want to give a breakdown on how this is going to work. So, we're going to talk about, Kurapika as a broad concept. And, we'll start off with just basic details about his life, his upbringing, and then we'll go through a brief recap of sorts, kind of just journeying through his whole journey as a character up to the current arc in the manga. If you're an anime only, I mean, honestly, just get out of here now. We're not going to talk a whole lot about the current arc, actually, because at some point we will, the arc's not done. It's wildly incomplete, especially for Kurapika at this moment. We haven't even seen him in like the last 20 chapters, like bare minimum we've seen him. So there's a lot to be said about Kurapika in that arc, and I don't feel like we're quite ready to talk about him in that arc as a whole until later. So somewhere down the line, hopefully, if the arc actually finishes, which I at this point I think it will. I'm pretty hopeful.
Yeah.
We will talk about Kurapika again in like a sequel kind of way. We'll do like another retrospective on him in that arc exclusively, and we'll go through his whole journey throughout that arc. There will be much to say, but for now we'll keep it brief and we'll talk about everything leading up to that point.
Yeah, no, it makes sense to me.
And then, after that, we'll just kind of do some fun facts and talk about our personal feelings about the character, his thematic resonance, and then we'll obviously see what you guys have to say about him. So, starting off, Kurapika is the only survivor of the Kurta clan, as I'm sure you guys are aware. He's he's a blacklist hunter, and in addition to being a hunter, he is also currently, as of very recently, in the world of Hunter x Hunter, he is the underboss of the Nostrad family. How he got to that point is kind of unknown at the moment, interestingly enough. We don't really know much about what went down in the time we didn't see him, but obviously we'll talk about that later.
Isn't that kind of a weird thing in retrospect, though? How like we just absolutely know nothing about how he climbed his way to the top there?
Yeah, it's it drives me nuts. I really want to know. But yeah, there will be much more to say about that as we continue with his story. So he is also, he has a lot of titles right now. He's also the Rat Zodiac currently. So this is a big deal, guys. Kurapika is a massive figure in this world, whether you realize it or not. He's climbed a lot of ladders.
Yeah, he's well known at this point. That's for certain.
Yeah. Currently in time, he is presumed to be about 19 years old, so that's also insane. 19 years old, and he's accomplished so much already.
The boss of the Nostrad family.
Yeah.
He's a Zodiac at 19 years old. He's basically still, like, he's just, like, he might as well be a child in my eyes still, almost.
Oh, yeah. At 19, that's insane.
Yeah. Very mature.
But obviously, he is very mature for his age.
Yeah.
So he's been through a lot. And that is a presumed age. We don't actually know because
really?
It hasn't been stated. Yeah, like because time has been passing in a weird way in the series as of late. Right. There was there was a big like year or two time skip before the whale even took off, and it's kind of hard to keep track of where we're at. And there hasn't been any guidebooks coming out lately, so we actually don't know his current age, but it's presumed to be 19 based on calculations and whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And if you're wondering, his birthday is April 4th.
Woo.
Now, let's talk about how he got from point A to point B. Point A being his upbringing in the Kurta clan. Kurapika was born to the Kurta clan, a clan of people who were feared by other people due to their ability to turn their eyes scarlet. In a secluded forest in the Lusco province. He spent a vast majority of his time with his best friend, Pyro. At some point during their time together, there was an incident where Kurapika almost fell off a cliff, but was saved by Pyro. Kurapika was fine, but unfortunately this event damaged Pyro's eyes, as well as his legs and stuff, but those actually weren't that big of a deal. The eyes are the big part in this case. Which then gave Kurapika the goal of finding a doctor, finding a way to heal Doctor, but eventually he figured, I can find a doctor in the outside world. Which led him to having a lot of arguments with the village elder, because the village elder was very keen on not having any of the people in the clan leave, considering how cruel the outside world is to the Kurta.
Yeah.
Eventually, Kurapika and Pyro saved a female outsider called Sheila. As thanks, she would give them a book called Dino Hunter, and it was about the adventures of the D Hunter. In the outside world, which they read together, strengthening their desire to visit the outside world.
There's your Sheila mention, all you rabid fans out there. You're welcome.
Not Pariston, mind you.
Not Pariston, that's right.
Keep that in mind. After Sheila left, Kurapika realized that the Kurta clan's elder had stolen the book and confronted him about it. Having an argument again, the clan elder finally allowed Kurapika to take the test and go to the outside world. Of course, he took the test and faced the cruelty of the outside world firsthand. This was, the scene of Volume 0, I would say, where they, even though it ends up actually being fake, the elder hired people to make it seem worse than it was. But it's still a very real thing. Like, the Kurta clan were feared by a lot of people just because of their eyes, which, not great.
Which was
obviously
evident even with like the whole thing being a ruse. Like after the guys were scared shitless by Kurapika, everyone still was like fearful of the eyes.
Yeah,
those that weren't involved. Yep. So
even the people not hired.
Yeah.
But in the end, with the help of Pyro, he was able to pass the test. So, a huge deal. Having passed, Kurapika was granted unrestricted permission to go to the outside world. Before leaving, Kurapika promised Pyro that he would return with a doctor and that they would one day go to the outside world together. Unfortunately, just 6 weeks later, while Kurapika was away, the Kurta clan was massacred by the Phantom Troop in order to sell their eyes on the black market. Presumably, at least. We actually don't know the full story there. But one day we will, hopefully.
Hopefully, I would love to know.
And as the last surviving member of his clan, Kurapika vowed to gain back all of the stolen eyes of his people and to bring the Phantom Troop to justice. And that begins the Kurapika we know, unfortunately for him.
Yeah,
I will say.
Very tragic, all things considered, to say the least. I don't really think that needs a whole lot of explaining of why that's as tragic as it is, right? Kind of tell us.
No, I would assume not. We've talked about Volume 0 at length on this podcast before, but it's it's a great little story just about Kurapika. I mean, a sad story as well, really. But
it really is like the key motivation behind his entire character, and kind of leads into a lot of different themes and subplots, even with involving Kurapika throughout the series. So it's very important that we have this foundation to go off of to discuss everything else going forward.
Yeah, this is what Chapter 1 is to Gon. This is, Volume 0 is Kurapika's Chapter 1. This is the start of his journey. It's really effective, and especially because he's, the main character currently. I love that it's Volume 0. It makes it really feel like Gon and Kurapika are these two primary main characters, and just like, even though obviously Volume 0 didn't actually come out alongside Volume 1, it came out much later. Just having that label on it makes it feel really neat to me. Like, it's, both characters are starting right here. Yeah. And you could still read Volume 0 before the series. I think there's really not much preventing you from doing so.
Oh, no, yeah, definitely not at all. And I really like how it kind of sets up Kurapika, because, like, hey, like, there's not just, like, one protagonist in Gon, right? And a lot of people will still kind of think that way when thinking about Hunter x Hunter. But, I think it's equally important to recognize that Kurapika really is just the other main character, so to speak, especially at the point that we're at in the manga at this current point in time.
Yeah, he feels like more of a weight on him than even compared to the other two of the main four. Like, obviously Killua feels big and important, but really only as a supporting role to Gon. Obviously he stands on his own. I'm not discrediting Killua in any way. I love Killua. Yeah. But he doesn't feel as like strong of a presence as Kurapika does as the lead.
Yes, exactly.
So, speaking of those characters, let's figure out how these guys met, right? So, Kurapika makes his proper debut in the series, in the real world, obviously. Volume 0 chronologically came first, but this was far before that. Kurapika encounters Gon and Leorio both on the boat that Gon boarded to take him from Whale Island to the testing site of the 287th Hunter exam. This is where Kurapika meets his longtime friends Gon and Killua, where the three of them show exceptional skill when a thunderstorm strikes the boat. The three of them band together to save a man from falling overboard, and the captain of the ship admires their bravery and tells them the secret route to get to the exam site.
I want to cut you off real quick. You said Killua, not Leorio.
Shit.
Yeah, that's a very key
No.
thing. I did not meet Killua yet at this point. So.
No, not Killua yet. My bad. I wrote Leorio too, just for the record. I know what I'm talking about.
Gon and Leorio, he met both of them.
Yes, Gon and Leorio. The three blossoming friends go through their journey of reaching the site, where along the way, Kurapika displays his intelligence and impressive combat skills, which, by the way, consisted generally of general martial arts and the use of wooden sticks called boken at the time.
And I'm not disrespecting the Boken. I still really liked how he used them in the beginning of the series. I can't look at them the same way though after
Nope.
last mission.
Those movies. Yep, those movies really soured the boken for me, I'll be real. There's a thing you can use something too much, guys, and the boken were definitely used too much in those movies for no reason. He had better weapons at that point.
Yeah. So I just had to throw that out there.
Yeah, but it was cool for the time, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, this is a pre-Nen world too, so it makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. But even without Nen, Kurapika was super exceptional back then.
Oh yeah.
Very, very much the most talented of the three, at least. Obviously, when Kilo comes around, the power dynamic kind of changes, but...
Yeah, and I mean, you could even argue that, like, Gon maybe had more potential from the get-go, just as a character, right? Yeah. But, like, I don't know. Kurapika definitely had the most, like... If we're thinking about it in terms of like skill floor, Kurapika was definitely a step above the rest at that point. He just knew more. Yeah.
He's like an all-rounder.
Mm-hmm.
The boys reach the exam site and begin with the first phase. It is here where the boys meet Killua. Here he is. Who, over the course of the rest of the exam, is absorbed into this newly formed friend group. But he kind of starts off just with Gon.
Yeah.
So can't really talk about him much in the first exam when we're talking about Kurapika exclusively, because they don't really meet each other until the end of the first exam, proper, at least.
Killua kind of got like absorbed into the friend group via Gon. He didn't really care about the other two initially.
Yeah, no, not really. It took him a while to get there, but also they meet Tonpa, who, yes, I do have to talk about here, who is known as the Newbie Crusher.
What a legend.
Yes, sir. Thankfully, he was unable to crush them, as they were all able to figure out his shtick pretty quickly, aside from Gon, who remained oblivious almost the entire time.
Love you, Gon.
Or at least hopelessly optimistic about him.
That's a optimistic way to put it, I'd say.
Yeah.
He was just kind of dumb, though, I fear.
A little dumb, yeah. During the latter half of the first exam, Kurapika and everyone else meets Hisoka, where he is then labeled by him as someone with potential, along with all of the other ones, too, at that time. Ultimately, after some struggle, the boys get through the first and second phase. I'm kind of skipping over the second phase entirely, because as far as Kurapika goes, there's really nothing to say about him there.
Yeah.
He's there.
Really, throughout...
He cooks.
Yeah, he cooks. Like, and now that I'm thinking about it, like half of the Hunter exam in general, I mean, that's almost like entirely Gon's story specifically.
Yeah,
right?
It is.
But so it makes sense. But yeah, like Kurapika really just was not a focal point for a lot of this. Is kind of what I'm realizing.
No, he wasn't. We'll get into his moments here, but yeah, a lot of this is Gon and Killua, and that's the case for every arc, at least in the anime, aside from York New.
Yes. But
the anime has a very big focus on Gon and Killua.
Yes. Despite that, though, I think we're already kind of seeing as we're recapping Hunter exam, this is really just all about like bonding the friend group together. Right. So
that's
no
matter
who the focus is on, everyone is kind of involved in that. This is kind of like a getting to know you kind of phase for everybody, and they're all kind of bonding through this experience.
Yeah, and obviously, having to talk about Kurapika as the focus, it's weirder to talk about the Hunter exams in that case. Like, whenever we eventually do like the Gon or Killua retrospective, I'll have a lot more to say about the Hunter exams. But for Kurapika, we're very limited. We have to really hone in on what is important to him. And Speaking of, let's get to Trick Tower, where we actually have a very big moment for him, at least early in the series. So the third phase was held at a location called Trick Tower. There, the four friends ended up being put into a series of trials with the goal of reaching the bottom of the tower, starting from the top. However, it wasn't just the 4 of them in this group. Unfortunately, they were also joined by Tonpa, who, despite all of them knowing his deal, still kept trying his best to break them apart and get them eliminated. Obviously, he failed.
Obviously.
But he sure tried. And the big notable event for Kurapika in this phase was an encounter with a weird freak named Maji Tani. This is a very strange character, even in the regards to the Hunter x Hunter world, because he's blue. I don't know why he's blue.
Yeah.
He's just a blue guy. He looks like Frankenstein.
Yeah, you would think he's like a zombie or something from just like a screenshot, which is very weird for Hunter x Hunter. But
yeah, it's super weird. I don't know what exactly he is, but the big thing about him is he's basically a big coward. He kind of sucks, but he was posing as a member of the Phantom Troop to inflict his opponents with fear. And this was the biggest mistake of his life, because Kurapika's sole goal is to kill or not kill exactly, but, eliminate all the Phantom Troop, bring them to justice.
But, against literally anybody else, like, it probably works, just, like, posing as a Phantom Troop member. Yeah. But this is, like, the one person you never want to do that to.
No, yeah, he picked the wrong tactic there.
Yeah.
But yeah, this guy he gets by just looking tough. He puts all these fake scars on him and makes him. Maybe that's why he's blue. I don't know. He just like dyed his skin.
I don't know. These are like prisoners, right? That are there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would make sense.
So his claim to fame was looking tough and scaring people, but that sure didn't work on Kurapika. He smashed his head into concrete upon seeing that tattoo on his back and seemingly knocked him out. Interestingly enough, Kurapika refused to kill him, despite it being a detriment to the team, since the conditions of the fight were for it to be a death match. The match couldn't officially be called. Eventually, though, they were able to pull through, but due to some poor gambling by Leorio, they had to wait in a room for 40 hours, leaving them with less than 10 hours to reach the bottom. And then, eventually, because of some quick thinking from Gon, the whole group was able to pass this phase. Yes, even Tonpa, unfortunately.
So,
not that he lasted much longer.
Do we know why Kurapika refused to kill him, though? Was it just kind of like an intuition thing?
Just like code of honor, I guess. He just refused to kill him. He wasn't really into the idea. I don't know. It does seem strange in hindsight, seeing how he is nowadays.
Right.
I don't really think he'd have a problem with it anymore. I guess, I don't know. He was just softer back then, I suppose.
You know what? That makes sense to me, I think. I feel like whenever we get to York New especially, that kind of forever changed him. Just the events of York New in general. So.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even, whenever we get to it, he didn't exactly want to kill Uva. Well, yeah, he did, actually. Never mind.
I think kind of
did. I don't know.
But,
he should have probably just killed Majitani, but whatever, he didn't.
We'll discuss it more there, but like I honestly there is a perspective where like that was just more out of frustration rather than like his actual intent going into it.
I guess that's true, yeah, because his goal is to capture the Phantom Troop. I want to make that clear. That is what he says, literally. But we'll talk about it. We're not in York.
We'll talk about it. Yeah,
we'll get there.
But I wanted to pose the question of why he didn't kill him, even like if he just like knew he wasn't a member of it or not. Like I don't know. It was interesting.
It could be that, yeah. Like it could be like a pity thing, like just pity the coward kind of thing.
Right.
I don't know. It is interesting though, and adds more to Kurapika's many layers.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth phase then had all participants trying to get assigned targets badges from each other to try to hit an allotted point goal to pass, during which Kurapika teamed up with Leorio and eventually Gon as well in order to hit their goal. Nothing of significance happens to Kurapika during this phase other than kicking Tonpa in the face and growing to respect his newfound friends even more. Namely Gon, as he displayed incredible bravery by saving both him and Leorio from a deadly situation. That is in the cave with that guy, the snake charmer, who died and left them all trapped there. And it set off poison gas. Gon held his breath and saved everybody.
Very cool moment.
Absolutely. But it wasn't Kurapika's moment, so
no.
Not much to say about it.
But again, like you said, he did get a lot of respect for him as a result.
So. That's the main thing here for Kurapika. learning a lot of respect for Gon especially. But also Leorio, because he was pretty antagonistic. I didn't really mention this, but he started off with a very antagonistic relationship with Leorio.
Leorio was kind of an asshole to Kurapika.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Basically telling him like his clan deserved to die and shit because they were just heated at each other. Obviously didn't mean it, but
they did not mesh
sure
very
said
well. They had like two
No.
completely polarizing personalities, especially. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's largely because of how their ideas of being a hunter didn't really jive because Leorio's whole deal is he wanted money and Kurapika thought that was like dishonorable.
Well,
But eventually, go ahead.
As we eventually grew to learn with Leorio, though, he also had kind of a sub goal, like he just wants to like save people. He wanted to be a doctor.
Exactly.
So like again,
Yeah.
that goes against the entire point of Kurapika, whereas I want to eliminate specific people. So like it's the complete opposite direction.
Yeah. But obviously, eventually, when he learns Leorio's whole story, he softens up.
Yeah, and this was kind of the beginning of that with like the snake pit.
Yep,
Where he was
exactly.
he showed a bit of a softer side and wanted to stand up for someone that he knew. So
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. The final phase of the exam was a tournament where the loser of the match was the one to move up the bracket, and you only had to win one match to pass, meaning there would only end up being one person to fail the exam. Which I've always thought was a really unique way to do a tournament. I think it's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I kind of like it.
It's like just
Gives
continuous loser brackets.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it. I wish we got to see more of it. We only get to see really Gon's match play out in full, but after Gon wakes up, we get a whole information dump from Satotes about it. So there is when we learn that Kurapika ends up fighting Hisoka in his match, who ended up conceding after whispering in Kurapika's ear, telling him that he had info on the Phantom Troop. This obviously caught Kurapika's attention, so after passing and becoming a hunter, he met up with Hisoka. He told Kurapika that both he and the Spiders would be in York New City on September 1st, during the largest auction in the world, and to meet him there. Before this, though, he would accompany Gon and Leorio to the Zoldyck family estate. So, that's everything about Kurapika and Hunter exams, just kind of setting up the character's personality, really, is all we got here. Some great moments with him, mainly the Majitani thing.
Yeah, you learn very quickly that, through this arc, that he's a very driven person with his goals, and he will kind of do whatever it takes to reach those, evidently, which we'll very much see paid off in later arcs, but like it kind of sets the foundation for like he has something he's fighting for constantly.
Yep, 100%. So, during the last phase of the exam, to say the least, Killua had a bad interaction with his brother, Illumi, and decided to interfere with a match and kill one of the participants in cold blood, disqualifying him and ending the exam. That was another rule of the exam. If somebody killed their opponent, that was it. And Killua happened to kill not his opponent, so that's like a double disqualification.
Yeah. So remind me, in that case, was it literally just like, okay, well that's screwed up, Killua, you fail, everybody else passes?
Yep, that was it.
Okay.
He killed that guy, walked out, and everybody else passed.
Great.
Yep. And then Killua left without saying a word. When Gon heard about this happening, he knew something was up and decided to interrogate Illumi about it. He learned that Killua had likely gone back home. So, of course, he decided to go rescue him. And rescue him is in quotes for reasons we'll see later. He didn't really need rescuing.
Yeah.
But we don't know that yet. Gon told Leorio and Kurapika about this, and they decided to accompany him. So the three boys head off on one more adventure before going their separate ways. And so for, Kurapika and, well, actually all of them, this pretty much just ends up being a training arc, considering the fact that Killua wasn't really in any danger to begin with, and actually left on his own without the group even reaching the mansion at all, which is very funny. But along the way, they meet employees of the Zoldyck family like Zebro, Sequant, Canary, and Goto, who in their own unique ways strengthen the boys. Namely Zebro, who gives them pretty extensive weight training, and by the end of the arc, Kurapika comes out with an even stronger bond with his friends and a stronger body to boot. Kurapika tells everyone about what Hisoka had told him, and they all decide to go their separate ways, aside from Gon and Killua, who stay together, and meet again on September 1st in York New City.
Yeah.
So yeah, not a whole lot of Kurapika action in this arc. It really is just, this is basically a Gon arc with Kurapika and Leorio attached to his hip.
Yeah. Hell, even Leorio had kind of like bigger moments in this arc than
100%.
Kurapika did. He kind of got sidelined for most of this.
Yeah. Kurapika really falls to the background in this arc. I can't even recall really a moment. He doesn't have one. I mean, he does play like the coin game with Goto a little bit, but he gets eliminated before or after Leorio, but obviously before Gon.
Yeah.
So, and Canary, I mean, he doesn't even interact with really. He does the stare with Leorio while Gon gets his ass kicked.
Yeah. So just not a lot to speak to, but he did get stronger as a result of it. That's evident.
Yeah.
But there wasn't one specific moment where like he really had like the focus on him. Everybody else kind of had something along those lines, but not Kurapika, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, Kurapika. It's easy to forget he was even there. To be honest, he really did not do anything.
But it was bonding.
He was there.
Yeah, it was bonding for the rest of the group, and again, like kind of like a training arc. So it worked out still.
For sure. And Heaven's Arena arc. Obviously, he wasn't there, but we do know what he was doing during that time. He was trying to get his first job as a blacklist hunter, but was denied due to not having passed the true hunter exam. Kurapika had no idea what that meant, but quickly found out. He encounters a man that we much, much, much later learn is named Izunavi. We learned his name so much later that both anime adaptations gave him a different name of their own.
Which is really funny to think about. Why didn't he just reveal the name here? I wonder. Like,
I don't know.
It makes me think Togashi actually never planned on using him again, and then just like randomly was like, "Oh, I can bring him back."
Yeah. And then his name is Izunabi though. We don't learn that for oh my god, so long. That's probably like 300 some odd chapters after this point.
So funny.
But Izunabi reveals to him that to truly pass the exam, one must learn Nen. What's Nen? Wow, I have no idea.
Oh, wow.
This is my first time hearing about
it.
So, under the instruction of Izunabi, Kurapika learns Nen and even goes a step farther than Gon and Killua at this point by developing a Nen ability.
It's kind of shockingly quick how fast he develops an ability.
Yes. So this is the very unique thing about Kurapika when compared to like, whenever we do a Gon and Killua retrospective, with them, we're going to have to talk about their Nen in parts because they learn it slowly over time.
It's like a staircase of learning.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get to see their whole journey. But with Kurapika, he learns it and that's it. Actually, he's locked in. Like this is what he's got. It hasn't changed at all since right here. He
was told about it. He was like, "Okay, I'm in," and then it was just like that. Like he learned it so fast.
Yeah, it's very unique, but it's awesome. I mean, it's really cool that we know all of his powers right off the bat. The only we don't get to see a steel chain for a very long time, but he did have it. It's not like that was something he developed later.
Yeah, he had it this entire time, but we didn't. Yeah, it was much, much, much later until we actually saw it.
Yes. So, what he developed during this time, if you don't know, I'm sure you do know, but I'll give you a refresher anyways. He has access to 5 abilities, 1 for each finger on his right hand. All of these abilities can be enhanced by Emperor Time, which is when his eyes turn scarlet. He changes his Nen type from Conjurer to Specialist.
Pretty crazy.
He can activate Emperor Time during that time, and that gives him access to other abilities attached to his abilities that he has already.
Yeah, which I think we learned about that specifically during York New, if I'm remembering correctly, or like
Emperor Time.
Yeah, Emperor Time. Because I don't know. I don't think we learned about it when he was actually developing the abilities with this Navi.
No. Well, yeah. So I'm going in chronological order. We don't get to see him really develop his Nen at all during Heaven's Arena, but we see in flashbacks in York New about all this.
Yes, but it takes place during Heaven's Arena, so yeah, that's why we're talking about it here.
Yep. But yeah, every second, and this is something we don't learn until very, very later, but every second spent in Emperor Time shortens Kurapika's lifespan by 1 hour. Yikes.
You can see how that's a big downgrade, right? But also you can argue that turning into a specialist at literally any point is kind of crazy in of itself. So, yeah, I won't say a reasonable drawback because I would hate to have that drawback, but like, you know.
Yeah, it's an extreme, and yeah, this I have a lot to say about this, but I'll save it till the end when we do personal thoughts and such.
Of course.
But yeah. Dowsing chain, number 1, can be used offensively, but its primary use is a lie detector. Emperor Time allows him to use it through a video recording if he has met the target before.
Have we seen Dowsing Chain be used offensively?
Yeah, very briefly during that encounter. Well, actually, we'll talk about it in a second, so I'll tell you that.
Oh, okay.
Number 2, chain jail. Sole purpose is to capture spiders and strip them of their freedom. It forces captives into a state of zetsu, shutting off their aura and preventing the use of nen abilities. If he uses it on someone other than a spider, he will die. Number 3, holy chain. Heals wounds. Emperor Time heals them faster and allows them to heal severe wounds. That's a very vague one. I don't even know what qualifies as a severe wound, but...
Yeah, and I guess that also kind of doesn't help that we don't see Holy Chain used in very extreme situations normally, so there's not a lot of data to go off of.
Yeah, well, we do know that he did use Emperor Time to heal his broken arm against Uvo. So that at least count. Broken limbs, that makes sense. Yeah, that would be that's an Emperor Time heal. So I guess it would be like cuts and scrapes for just normal.
Yeah, and then maybe like more like, you know, broken bones, internal bleeding, stuff like that for like severe wounds.
Then number 4, Judgment Chain enters a victim's body and wraps around their heart. Kurapika then declares a binding vow that if violated by the victim, results in the stake of retribution, piercing their heart and killing them. This can only be used during Emperor Time. And number 5, Steel Chain, which we won't even actually really see used because we're not talking about succession contest here, but he does have it. Drains a target's aura and steals their nen ability temporarily. Emperor Time allows Kurapika to summon Stealth Dolphin, a nen beast that analyzes stolen abilities and allows Kurapika to use it himself or lend it to another person. If the person he gave the ability to didn't previously have nen, this will awaken it within them. Emperor Time must remain active the entire time if he gives the stolen ability to someone else.
Very creative.
So pretty big drawback.
Yeah, very useful, creative, and just like very I don't know. This ability can do a lot of stuff. So
yeah, I love Stealth Dolphin a lot. That's one of my favorites. So yeah, after learning then that exact ability that we just talked about is what he just developed, and he does that, and then in a very short period of time, evidently just a few months, which is crazy. He's very talented.
It's such an elaborate ability because like he's just a conjurer if he's not in Emperor Time, but he was able to create all of this on his own with all these different restrictions and really thought it out in like. I feel like I remember even within the flashbacks that we saw, Izunami himself was impressed and like, whoa, like, you know, he had this all thought out immediately.
Yeah.
Like, very creative guy.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Izunami tried to dissuade him from doing chains because he just thought that was like a dumb idea for a conjurer. Like, why would you conjure chains? What the hell are you thinking?
Yeah. You could do like something.
He had it all figured out.
Way more OP, but no, he's like, no, these chains will do something. All right.
Yeah. He changed his tune, I guess, whenever his eyes turned scarlet when he was because Kurapika got mad at him and like almost walked away, and then Izunami noticed a change in his aura when his eyes turned red, so he had him take the water test, water divination, and that's when they found out he's a specialist whenever his eyes turn red. So after successfully learning Nen, he goes back to that agency to get his first job. He requests a job in York New City and gets one. The job is allegedly to be a bodyguard for someone who collects rare body parts. A strange hobby, to say the least.
Yeah, you could see, though, why he accepted that, you know. Maybe a little curious as to what body parts they may have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
And now begins Kurapika's time to shine.
Oh,
this is where effectively Kurapika... Oh, yeah, banger. Kurapika is effectively the main character in this arc. Gon and Killua and Leorio are there, obviously, but they are kind of... It's a sub-story within Kurapika's story, I would say. It's Yeah, it's definitely a smaller deal, and they do come to a head eventually. The two paths intersect, but the main meat and potatoes is Kurapika's story here.
Mm-hmm. Everything like there's focuses on Gon, Killua, and Leorio, but like even within those plots, the entire time there's like stuff happening with Kurapika that kind of is like going on in the background, kind of setting up a lot of these events. Mm-hmm. So Kurapika really is just like the main driving force here.
Yes. So yeah, Kurapika begins this whole arc by going to a mansion that is supposedly owned by the body part collector. There he meets his new co-workers, Melody, Basho, Baze, Tochino, and Squala. The latter two people there were actually already part of the staff to begin with and were testing the three newbies. So this is Tochino here mainly was he's the one that can create Nen puppets, and he fills the room with them, attacks them, and this, Dylan, is where Kurapika uses Dowsing Chain offensively.
Ah, okay. Forgot about that.
Yes. This is where Kurapika gets to flex his brain and carries the whole team through the test. Seriously, he does like all the heavy lifting here. He figures out this whole thing for them. So after passing this test, they are given a final test to gather a rare body part and bring it back. This is when Kurapika spots that a pair of scarlet eyes are among the desired body parts. Ooh. Melody, being able to read people's emotions, makes note of this. They all succeed in bringing a body part back and pass the test. The newly hired guard then meets their superior, Daltsone. Wait, how do you say this guy's name? I've looked it up before this.
Daltsolane? Yes, Daltsolane, I think is probably
Daltsolane.
Right.
That's it. Daltsolane gives them the rundown of the true nature of their job, which is to guard their boss on a journey to York New City, where they will be participating in the Mafia community's underground auction. The boss turns out to be Neon Nostrad, the daughter of the head of the Nostrad family. In reality, she is the backbone to the whole family because of her Nen ability, Lovely Ghostwriter, which allows her to write poems that predict the future. Her father, Light Nostrad, had been climbing the ranks in the Mafia world by using this ability. After all introductions are done and preparations are complete, Kurapika and the rest arrive in York New City on September 1st as promised. Although he is far too busy at the moment to meet up with Gon and friends, but that would still happen in due time. Also as promised, Hisoka, along with the rest of the Phantom Troop, arrive there as well, and chaos immediately ensues at the auction.
It happens very quickly.
Very quickly. So at this point, Kurapika and Melody are stationed to watch, while I think it was Baze and Tochino are inside the auction at this point, trying to participate.
Yes, that sounds right, because I think Kurapika really wanted to be in with the auction to see if Scarlet Eyes were there, obviously, and he was like, "Nope, you're keeping watch, and that's it."
Yep. Yeah, so things go crazy immediately. Being thieves, of course, the Phantom Troop is there to steal the items up for auction. They accomplish this by killing everybody in sight and disposing the bodies with Shizuku's ability.
Pretty efficient game plan.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that works. It is a bloodbath, though, and during their first killing spree, both Tochino and Baze from the guard team are already killed. That's 2 team members down right off the bat.
Rest in peace.
Damn. Yeah. If you don't remember, Baze was the one who had the ability to seduce men and make them like puppets.
Right.
But yeah, she died. Rest in peace.
Hate to see it.
Kurapika and the rest of the guards pursue the troop immediately from a distance. But before they decide to take any action, the Shadow Beast try to step in and save the day.
My goats.
Here they come. And if you don't remember from our previous character retrospective, guys, the Shadow Beasts are an elite bodyguard team chosen by the 10 Dons, which is a group of the highest-ranking Mafia officials. And each Shadow Beast is personally selected by the 10 Dons. So there are 10 members. Mm-hmm. They are supposedly the best of the best, but compared to the Phantom Troop, they are just garbage, and they get destroyed. Except for Al. Al, yep, he gets captured because Kurlo wants his ability. Which, by the way, also worth noting, I mean, this isn't about the troop, obviously it's about Kurapika, but all the treasure they wanted was actually stolen by Owl first with his ability. Fun cloth, if you guys forgot.
My goat.
That's the goat, baby. The one that does all the heavy lifting in this encounter is Uvo, or Uvogin. And due to his poor physical condition after the battle, Kurapika and company are able to take advantage of this and capture him, rendering Uvo completely immobile with his chain jail ability. They take him to their headquarters and try to interrogate him. However, they completely fail to interrogate him and get no info whatsoever.
He didn't budge.
He really is not bothered by any of this. He's seen far worse than this. After this failure, Kurapika leaves to have his first meetup with Hisoka, and they begin their give-and-take relationship. Hisoka reveals that he is only pretending to be a spider at the moment. Unfortunately, while Kurapika is gone, the spiders break Uvo out, resulting in the death of Dalsolane. Rip.
Rest in peace.
A lot of death. This guard team falls apart very quickly. Kurapika comes back to the base to a real mess, and following the death of Dalsolane, is promoted to captain of the guard team by Light Nostrad himself, who has now arrived in York New City. Uvo, seeking revenge on Kurapika, hunts him down and seeks a fight with him. Kurapika is more than down for this, since he's the perfect test subject for his ability. Since Uvo is physically the strongest member in the troop, he would be able to tell if chain jail is truly unbreakable. So the two meet up. First, he lures Uvo to where he thought they were hiding out, but Kurapika sends everybody else away and stays behind to meet him one-on-one.
Yep.
And then they go to a different location to fight. And obviously, this is Kurapika's huge moment. This is one big fight that he's gotten so far, and it's amazing.
It's one of the best fights in the series, I'd argue.
Yep, it's just an incredible moment.
It's very good all around. Thematic wise, I don't know. Like it's great. It's a spectacle.
Yeah, it's awesome. I can't get enough of that fight. But after a tough battle, he is able to capture Uvo in chain jail and confirms that it is indeed fully unbreakable. There is no getting out of it.
Uvo tried his damn best. It wasn't enough, though.
Yep. Yeah. Couldn't do anything. Kurapika tries to get information out of him by placing Judgment Chain on him with a binding vow of, if you don't answer truthfully, you die. But Uvo basically just tells him to eat shit and dies. So
love that.
That's it.
I love
he
that.
He did not get
every
anything.
time.
That is an amazing moment. I do really love Uvo.
But
very. That's another great Togashi example of just having a character around for not very long, but having such a strong presence.
Absolutely.
It's so effective. I love it.
This is what I was referencing earlier, by the way, of the whole binding vow. If you don't answer truthfully, you die. I wonder. The more I think about that, the more I really do feel like that was just out of frustration. It's hard, why can't I get the information I want? Maybe he didn't necessarily want it to come to that, but maybe in just the heat of the moment, he felt like this might be the only way I get any information out of this asshole.
Yeah,
because he wouldn't tell me anything before in the interrogation too. So,
but even that didn't work.
Yeah,
and it is clear that he has. Well, respect is absolutely not the right word. He has no respect for this guy, but there's something there. It's very hard to pin. Kurapika is a very emotionally complex character, obviously. That's no surprise. And him in this fight is definitely no exception. This might even be the pinnacle of that. It's very hard to read his emotions here because, immediately after this, he also takes the time to bury Uvo, which, you could see that as... just hiding the evidence. He doesn't want the troop to know he's dead or whatever, but they're gonna find out anyways. Why bother burying him?
Right. I think that just goes to show the human nature of Kurapika.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of his motivations and his wants for revenge and whatnot, there's a human side of him that can at least acknowledge the strength of somebody, and I think that's kind of what happened with Uvo here in this fight, especially. It's he doesn't have to respect the guy, but he can acknowledge that he put up a fight, and he stuck to his own motivations and his will. So,
I think that's exactly it. This is what kind of struck a chord with Kurapika, is that kind of not giving up on your friends, not turning your back on them.
Yes,
Uvo wouldn't sell them out here, no matter what, even faced with death. No hesitation. He just told him, "Go to hell." Like, I'm not telling you anything.
Which is a thing that resonates with Kurapika's story, even up until now, where we're at in the current arc. And that that's kind of something he struggles with. Being able to kind of fight for his friends and stick up for them while also being true to his own. His own wants, his own needs, desires.
It's as simple as he has an internal struggle of selflessness versus selfishness.
Yes, that's a great way of putting it.
He's constantly grappling with the two things, and that's what has always drawn me to his character personally. It's such a well portrayed struggle. You can tell he really does care about his friends, but he also, he cares about himself too, but also he doesn't in a weird way. I want to talk about this a lot more later whenever we just talk about him in general, but I love Kurapika, guys. He's amazing. But let's finish his story here. There isn't really a whole lot left, honestly, at this point. So Kurapika then meets up with Light Nostrad, where he is informed that the 10 Dawns have hired a group of professional assassins to eliminate the Phantom Troop, and that Light wants him to join said assassin team. After meeting up with the assassins in the auction building, he is told that Neon has slipped away from her guards to attend the auction herself. Using Dowsing Chain, he manages to track her down, or at least pinpoint her location. While she was away, however, Crollo managed to get his fortune read by her and steal her ability. Lovely. The auction building is once again attacked by the troop in revenge for Uvogin. I don't know why I wrote the auction building here. They actually attacked the whole city.
Yeah, I was going to say, it wasn't just the building. They were ransacking the streets.
My bad. Yeah, no, they were just fucking everything up. And most of the hired assassins and the 2,000 mafia gangsters protecting it are all killed with ease.
It was
cutting down like butter.
Yeah. There was no fighting back.
However, two elite assassins, Zeno and Silva Zoldyck, almost succeed in killing Crollo. But just before they can finish the job, Ilumi Zoldyck calls and tells them that the 10 Dawns have been assassinated in a mission whose client is Crollo. He got played. The Zoldicks then spare his life and leave. Then, using the ability of a member, Cortopi, the Phantom Troop fake their own deaths, create copies of all the items, and continue the auction using the fakes. So, their goal is effectively done here.
Yeah, they got the treasure. They got what they wanted.
Yeah. We're not going to get into the whole internal debates that they go through at this point because this isn't about the troop, but eventually they do decide to stay in York New City due to a lot of circumstances revolving around fortunes that they took of each other, Hisoka's lying, and also the fact that they do want the chain user, which they didn't know was Kurapika at this point, dead. Kurapika arrives just in time to see the fake corpses. He looks to the bodies of Crollo, Machi, Phaeton, Shizuku, Shalnark, and Franklin with hatred and sadness. He then goes on to win a highly desired item at the request of Light. A pair of scarlet eyes. How poetic.
Oh, man.
At his lowest point, he gets something that he does want, but I mean, it's not even for him, and also they're fakes, but they don't know that.
Oh, man. It's such a good moment, though. Like, just how it's layered, especially with it being a fake the entire time, too. Like, what is he even fighting for at that point? Makes you question.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the lowest we've ever seen Kurapika, I'm safe to say. He is, at this point, he just feels like his life's over. Like, his goal was just dealt with and had no involvement from him whatsoever.
Yep.
Dude, imagine that. Just be in his shoes for a second.
I think it's physically impossible for me to imagine being in his shoes. Like, that's so heavy. That's so heavy.
He like built his whole ability around this. Like, he was planning his whole life around doing this.
Yeah.
And then
whether he lives or dies, that's his only purpose.
Yeah, that's his only purpose. So this is the lowest we've ever seen him. But radiating like the sun, Gon comes into the picture at this point. Kurapika finally is able to meet up with Gon, Killua, and Leorio as originally promised. Only 3 days late. But hey, better late than never.
Yeah, exactly.
They share some good times, and Kurapika is on the way to recovering from the despair of his goal and purpose in life seemingly being robbed from him.
Right, because the entire thing as well was that he thinks they're dead, but like he didn't kill them directly, so like he feels like, why, what was I even doing? Yeah,
exactly. Yep. He ends up telling them every detail of his current situation, including how his Nen ability works, since he trusts them so much. This is where I'll talk about briefly the Gon and Killua plotline. Gon and Killua were captured by the troop earlier as part of their plotline, and during this time they were able to deduce Pakunoda's ability. Her ability is to read minds, essentially, which now that they know all of Kurapika's secrets has become an infinitely more dangerous ability to them. And even before a second from now, when Kurapika learns they aren't dead, Pakunoda is still alive in all of their eyes, so that she's still a danger.
Yeah.
Regardless of who's alive.
Oh yeah. They only made copies or like bodies of like half of the troop essentially.
Yeah. Everyone I listed up there those were the bodies. Kurapika then receives a message from Hisoka simply saying that the bodies are fakes. So
this I actually cannot imagine what would be going through Kurapika's mind.
Like, my head spins just thinking about it. Like, oh my god, my mind would break. I don't even.
Way too many emotions.
I'd have a stroke, I think.
Yeah.
He ends up deciding after this to pursue the Phantom Troop alone. But come on, guys. Leorio, Killua, and Gon all insist on helping him.
And this is another thing to his character. He always insists, like, I have to do this alone. This is my thing.
Yep.
This is purely for me. Never, ever realizing that he has people he can rely on.
Yep.
This is very key in showcasing this moment in particular.
Absolutely. Yeah, beautiful moment here.
Yeah.
Laying down their lives for their friend here.
Yeah.
And
at Kurapika's, he's at his lowest, like you said, too. But... having friends with you even when you're at your lowest, when they, you insist that they shouldn't come along, but they do anyways. That means a lot, even to Kurapika, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. And this is also where during this whole sequence we see him smile, and that's very nice.
You don't see him smile often, to be honest.
No, so, very rare sight.
Means a lot when he does.
Later on, while trailing the Phantom Troop in disguise, Kurapika loses his cool and is about to spring into a fight with Chrollo, Machi, and Shizuku. But Gon intervenes, causing his and Killua's capture. Pakunoda questions them again, and this time does find out who Kurapika is and all the details they just learned. Worst case scenario.
Bad. Very bad.
But with the help of Leorio and Melody, Kurapika manages to capture Chrollo before Pakunoda could reveal what she has found out. Kurapika then contacts the spiders, speaking with Pakunoda, Nobunaga, and briefly Finks, although Finks just kind of blows it. He almost gets Chrollo killed in that moment. About the terms of their exchange. Yeah, fucking Finks. When Pakunoda comes with Gon and Killua to meet him for the hostage exchange, Kurapika uses his judgment chain to forbid Chrollo from using Nen or communicating with the other Phantom Troop members, and also to forbid Pakunoda from revealing what she knows about him. After the exchange, Kurapika collapses from exhaustion due to the continual use of his scarlet eyes.
It just now hit me. Yeah, wait, how long was he using him for time there for? Oh, no.
Quite a while. The whole time he had Chrollo captured, probably.
Somebody at this point has to have made like a, estimated amount of time Scarlet Eyes has been used, or like Emperor time has been used for Kurapika, right? I'm really curious to know if something like that's been calculated yet. That'd be interesting.
I'd love to know, yeah.
Because like I just completely forgot how long that was active for here.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so this does bring about a fairly peaceful ending to the arc, at least from the perspective of our friends. Of course, this will not be the end of their conflict, but we still have yet to see the continuation of it even now. But we're getting there one day. Also worth noting is that Squalla was also killed of the guard team because he was in charge of guarding the Scarlet Eyes, which the troop was able to track due to it being made by Cortopi. He wouldn't give them any information when they found him, and they killed him. And In my recent rewatch, I developed a very big fondness for Squalla. I was actually really bummed out when he died. It's really tragic. He tried his best. He didn't want to be a part of this. He just wanted out.
And even with that, though, he refused to give the information. He stayed true.
True hero. I love Squalla. I hope his dogs are okay.
I hope so too, man. That saddens me now. Why'd you have to bring that up?
I know. So yeah, that's about more than half of the guard team that walked into this arc, not walking out. Then, even though it isn't part of Kurapika's personal story, it's still worth bringing up here. Pakunoda sacrificed her life to pass on all of the knowledge she gained about Kurapika to the other members of the troop. This will surely be an important detail eventually. We can only imagine, but no follow-up on that yet. During the interim time where Kurapika is recovering, Gon asks him to teach him how to develop a Nen ability, however he declines. Once he recovers from this exhaustion, he leaves York City with the rest of the surviving guard team and vows to continue his search for the Scarlet Eyes.
Man.
So that's Kurapika's big arc, obviously aside from one later, but
this solidified him as one of my favorites for sure, this entire arc.
He's incredible in this arc. It just shows you how complex and well written of a character he is. This is the biggest showcase we've gotten of him this far, even not, including the current stuff. I still think this is the best showcase of him.
Oh yeah.
Because we're going to get there with this current arc, but he's been taking a back seat lately. He will take the front seat again though, very shortly, I'm sure. In
the current arc, there's a lot more interconnecting parts and cogs turning that will eventually lead to a good blow off with Kurapika and moving his story forward more. The difference between that and York New is that he was just he was the cog in the machine, so to speak, right? Yep. He caused everything else to move from him doing stuff.
Exactly.
But
he is the central figure. Obviously the troop right there with him. I mean, they did a lot of shit too, but he made it into something bigger because of his presence.
Exactly.
That would have just been another heist if he wasn't there, but it turned into something a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Greed Island. Not there, obviously, but he does have a brief cameo in the arc. After Gon and Killua spots Chrollo's name in the player list, Killua decides to leave Greed Island for a bit to call Kurapika and inform him of this. Kurapika doesn't seem too concerned about it, though, insisting the Judgment Chain is still wrapped around his heart, so he isn't a threat anymore. After that, he has a short conversation with Light Nostrad, who is in a very sorry state due to the loss of Neon's Nen ability.
He is down.
He was really messed up, and that is still the last we've seen of him. I don't know.
He lost everything from losing that ability.
He may not be alive. I do not know.
Who's to say at this point? I don't even know if we'll see him again.
Yeah, I would like to know what happened to him, but I'm not hopeful.
Yeah.
We'll see. I just thought of a theory, but I don't even want to talk about it. It's actually really fucking dark. In regards to Neon.
You'll have to let me know after the episode or something.
Yeah.
I'm curious now.
So then Chimera Antarch. Man, guys, he did a lot.
Wow.
So this is going to take a minute. This podcast is probably going to be another hour long.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. He did absolutely nothing.
He did not show up one time. No dialogue, really, or hardly any dialogue referencing him. Nothing happened with him.
No, there was nothing.
Yeah.
Anyways, 13th Chairman Election Arc. Despite the reappearance of his co-workers under Light Nostrad, such as Melody, Basho, and Linsen, the guy who never talks.
Except for in the last mission.
Except in the last mission. I didn't mention him at all during York New City, but he was also a part of the guard team, my bad. Kurapika did not visit the hospital where Gon was being given intensive care treatment and didn't even answer Leorio's phone call about the matter.
Come on, man. After everything you went through in York New? Dang.
Yeah. After the events of the arc, Leorio tries to call him again, and then Kurapika is seen in a church holding a funeral for his murdered comrades, ignoring Leorio's incoming call once again. Apparently, during this period of time where we did not see him, he managed to find several pairs of scarlet eyes. And he's holding a little funeral for all of them.
So, that's not a whole lot in terms like in a vacuum within that arc, but oh man, does that really like set the tone for his character going forward into the current arc now.
Yes.
Which is that like it's an entire focal point that like Kurapika is so consumed by his own personal goals and just like so focused on the present and future that he's kind of blinded and doesn't see what he actually still has that's of value to him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's brought up so much more, going forward, but this is really where it sets that tone of like Kurapika's very blinded right now. He hasn't really like woken up from this yet almost. And
no, he didn't. He's in a very different at this point. And we still don't know why. Something happened. Like he had some shift while we didn't see him, and it may be subtle, but there's just something different about him to the point where you have to wonder what happened.
I really do just think that like, as he finds these scarlet eyes, it's kind of like, he's stepping closer to that goal. But again, by doing that, he's losing sight of the friends that he has, the bonds that he has with, Leorio, Gon, Killua. I don't know. It's so interesting to me, just like the shift in that personality, like you said. But like, I'm just a big sucker for like, kind of being lost within yourself and having to have friends kind of try and pull you out of it, which, spoiler alert, that hasn't really happened yet with Kurapika, unfortunately. No. But like,
despite meeting back up with Leorio, it's still not enough, I guess.
But like, that proves the importance of the earlier arcs, especially with like everyone bonding with one another. It sets up that tone of like, this is a solid friend group, but like one person's just kind of losing their way a little bit. It's kind of being consumed, and eventually I hope that will be paid off in one way or another. But I guess the point I'm trying to drive home here is that 13th chairman arc, not a lot happens with him, but the little stuff that does happen, there's a lot you can read into that, and I really appreciate that.
100%. And so for anime onlys, that's it. That's if you only watch the anime, that's all you get from him. But obviously, his story doesn't end there, and we are going to briefly touch on Succession Contest. We're not going to talk about the whole journey quite yet, but it'd be a shame to not talk about it at all.
Yeah, there's some relevant stuff still.
Oh, yeah. In short, Kurapika has now taken on the main character role once again, this time very concretely. He's it. Leorio's there, but man, he has done nothing as of now.
I could probably count on both hands like the amount of like appearances he has while like on the boat specifically. Yeah. Maybe one hand even, actually.
Well, I think 2 times. I think that's it. That's all I can remember.
Oh man. But he was there before, so I guess it evens out a little bit.
Yeah. So he's currently caught up in a battle between the 14 princes of Kakin to decide who will become the next king. He is tasked with guarding 14th Prince Wobble, where he is working closely with Wobble's mother, Oito, and a man named Bill, who he has a blossoming friendship with. Before the boat departed, Kurapika was also made the Rat Zodiac to replace Periston.
Yeah, that's a whole can of worms that we won't get into here.
Yeah, not right now. And also has not a whole lot to do with Kurapika, honestly.
No, not at all, but he is a Zodiac. That is important.
Yes. Actually, when we talk about Leorio's retrospective, we'll probably talk about that a lot more.
Yeah, no, that's way more involved with his stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the boat, Kurapika is playing a central role in the Succession Contest by playing a game of information in regards to Nen. He teaches Nen classes to the other prince's guards, while it is being interrupted by an assassin, which is an ongoing plot which has still not been resolved currently.
Like a 7-year plot line now at this point.
Yep. He's also forming connections and building alliances with other princes and factions along the way, including the latest, a daughter of Beyond Netero named Long Hee. Also, on board the boat is the entire Phantom Troop as well as Hisoka, but at present, Kurapika has no idea about this. But things will surely come to a head further down the road, but for now, we need to see what happened at Hulkenberg's funeral and the second round of Kurapika's Nen classes.
Yeah.
That's what we're waiting on right now.
It really is as simple as like the chess pieces are literally all there for something massive to happen with Kurapika's character. Just none of the pieces have interacted in a way that really sets that up yet.
Right.
So,
He's very much on his own. He's doing his own thing, not related to any of his prior plot lines at the moment, but they're going to come to a head eventually.
the most you could speak to with that is that a lot of what he's gone through already has been kind of more like introspective to him, I guess, in that he's kind of struggling to find out what he's really valuing right now, I think, or what and what truly holds meaning to him, I guess is the best way to put it. And, that's involved with him kind of, guarding the 14th Principal and, a bunch of other stuff that happens that, not going to get into here because it's probably best saved for a follow-up once we get deeper into the arc or finish the arc entirely. But, there's a lot of cool stuff to read into, but just nothing too crazy yet that has happened to really speak on.
Yeah, 100%. So, that's pretty much all we'll talk about in regards to Succession Contest Kurapika. He's doing a lot. There will be a lot more to say about him later. And also, some of your comments will also address it. But, so before we talk about, personal thoughts and just where we think he's going, all that, let's go over a little bit of fun facts, some miscellaneous details. So, Kurapika, his in-universe spelling is actually something along the lines of Kurapikit.
Very different.
Very different. It's very strange. Togashi loves to do that. Look up Krollo's in-universe spelling. It's insane. That's the weirdest one of them all. Kurapika's last name has never been stated before, and it is completely unknown if he even has one at all, which is very unusual for Hunter x Hunter characters, but we don't know.
Maybe it's like a Kurta clan thing, though, at the same time. Or maybe it's a mystery left to be revealed as, where the Kurta clan was even located, potentially. Who knows?
True. Yeah. Some people just assume that his last name is Kurta, but it hasn't been stated. Who knows?
Yeah, we don't really know.
Yeah. Of all the members of the Phantom Troop, Bonolanov was the only one that Kurapika has never met or interacted with. Funnily enough.
I wonder if that'll come into play with the current arc without spoiling anything.
It might.
Yeah.
So this is the biggest one I want to talk about here. He shares a lot in common with Kurama from Yu Yu Hakusho. Certainly intentionally. So this is, if you guys have ever seen or read Yu Yu Hakusho, every character, it's you haven't.
I can't speak to any of this. This is all you.
All four of the main characters in Yu Yu Hakusho have their mirrors, I would say, in Hunter x Hunter, but Kurama and Kurapika are, even in name, I mean, the first four letters are literally the same, so there's that. But both of them have, sort of ambiguously gendered designs. Kurama uses, a rose whip, Kurapika uses chains, pretty similar. They're both, the smart one of the group. It's very interesting. Those, and the similarities with the other ones are much more minor. Literally with Gon and Yusuke, the most you can say is that they're the main character and they wear green. That's pretty much it. But there's a lot more to say with Kurama and Kurapika, and I think it's evident that Kurama was probably, if not Togashi's favorite character to write, one of his favorite. So he basically just expanded upon the idea and took him into Hunter x Hunter again, and I think that's really cool.
That's really cool. Yeah, I like the idea of kind of just taking a character you really like, just okay, well let's make something a little bit more fleshed out, even maybe potentially.
Let's remix it.
Yeah. That's cool.
Obviously their backstories are entirely different, but I mean there's a lot of similarities there, and I think it's neat.
Well, it's always neat to kind of just see what has inspired other works in general, right? And that kind of goes with characters as well.
Mm-hmm. Kurapika has consistently ranked second in all of the Hunter x Hunter popularity polls in Shonen Jump.
I wonder who ranked first.
I wonder.
But that's awesome that Kurapika is ranked second consistently.
Yeah, every single time.
Absolutely deserves it.
Yes. He has been played by 3 different actresses, not counting English. Noriko Hidaka from the pilot OVA, Yuki Kaida from the 99 anime, and Miyuki Sawashiro from the 2011 anime. And the reason I even bring this up is because, interestingly enough, the first of which, that voiced him in the pilot, would go on to play Shulnark in the 2011 adaptation.
Oh, that's cool, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Which is interesting because, like, I feel like from what I remember, 2011, they kind of have very different voices. So, like, it's kind of funny to hear like Shalnark's voice like be used for Kurapika. Huh.
Yeah. Very cool though. All right, yeah. So now let's just kind of generally talk about Kurapika for a bit before we get onto what you guys had to say. So, Dylan, why don't you start? Just talk about Kurapika. What you got to say about him? General thoughts. Where you think he's going? Stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm so invested in him as a character and his story in general. And so I've talked about this with you, just, like friend to friend conversations before, but something I'm a really big sucker for in terms of just like consuming media and like stories, especially, is kind of like people finding their purpose in life almost and being able to kind of like, kind of seek the light out of situations almost rather than like being consumed by darkness or revenge or hatred, whatever it may be. And Kurapika really kind of fits that bill for me, and that, especially with how his storyline is currently being, set forward right now to explore, or is actively exploring rather. He's kind of being consumed by this want for, his goals and revenge and whatnot. And inevitably, I would hope, he'll get pulled out of it by his friends. And there's something beautiful in being invested in a story like that and kind of just being drip fed like hope for a character like that. Especially with someone as driven as Kurapika. And that really resonates with me personally. And that's probably my favorite part about his character in general, is just kind of seeing, like, it's almost as if like whenever I watch the show or, if I'm reading certain, parts from the manga, it's like I can kind of like consistently see as he's on the page, like the cogs turning in his like decision making, or just like how his story is being propelled forward. It's like it's all very intentional from Togashi. It feels like every single time he's on the page or he's on the screen, and that, I don't know. I get so invested with him so easily because I feel like there's always a purpose with him. And I feel like I'm kind of going on tangents at this point, but I don't know. He's just so cool. I'm really invested in his story in particular, but the character and personality as a whole is also very charming and interesting as well. You can say it's edgy at points, especially with the whole like I must kill the Phantom Troop, or I must eliminate them. But yeah, I don't know. He's just cool. He's badass. I love his abilities. I love his passion and his motivations, and yeah, I'm just invested.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, I absolutely agree. He's one of my favorite characters, top 5, maybe even like second favorite, honestly.
He's up there for sure. Yeah, and
go ahead.
No, as for where he goes from here, I kind of have doubts that this will happen, but I selfishly hope that by the end of wherever his character ends up, that he ends up in a very happy place. That's what I would like for him the most, because I think he deserves it.
That's where I was getting at too. Everybody always talks about Kurapika is a character that can only go one of two ways. He can either end up happy or he can end up dead.
Yep.
And that is very true. I'm inclined to agree with that, and I'm hoping that he ends up happy and alive. I really want that for him.
That's not to say there wouldn't be a certain kind of like beauty in like the opposite being true, where like everything goes wrong for him and he suffers a very tragic fate, because like you could go in so many different directions from something like that being kind of like it's not even subverting expectations, but like it'd be very like jarring thing to see after being drip fed like hope, like I was talking about, right? With all these different, like he has all these friends he can turn to, and he has like all these other reasons to live, and not necessarily just for retrieving the eyes or eliminating the troop, right? Like you could go a lot of different directions to explore thematics off of his fate of like dying or something really bad happening to him, but I think it would be so satisfying and visceral almost to kind of like just see like Kurapika be in a very good state of mind for once, rather than going half the series now being very lost in himself and just kind of tuned out from the world. I want to see him smile again. Yes. Yeah.
I just want him to be happy, and we're a very long ways away from that ever happening again, if it does, but I want to see it. I don't want him to end in tragedy. I really don't.
Yeah.
Can I see it happening? Yes, absolutely. We'll just have to see. I hope for the best for my boy. And yeah, to answer my own question, what I just posed to you, to me, Kurapika he's like kind of a personal character to me. I really do. I relate to a lot of aspects about him in the sense of like his desire and his passion for his friends, while also his passion for his friends at a detriment to himself.
Yes,
is what I really connect to. That's something I personally struggle with a lot as well. The lack of care for myself and, caring about my friends maybe too much, but to me, I want to do that, and it's obviously that's a theme heavily explored in Kurapika, so I can't help but relate to him. It's hard for me to to the point where I can rationalize what he's doing a lot of the times because of that mindset I share with him. It's very personal in that regard.
It's a very human and relatable thing to relate with. I think think about your own daily life for anybody. It's a tightrope walk that you kind of do with trying to balance, doing things for yourself while also kind of aspiring to be, like a decent person and being able to do things for others, or just do things even if it doesn't necessarily relate to you. It'll improve your quality of life by doing it. And that's kind of oversimplifying it almost, but Kurapika very much it live and dies by this almost of just trying to figure out should I do this or not, and what will others think about me? Will they still care about me even going down these roads? So it's a very personal thing for most people, I think, I would argue, and that's what makes him such a good character, because I think a lot of people can relate to that.
100%. He's human.
Yes.
He's human to a fault. And that can be said about a lot of characters in Hunter x Hunter. It's a very personally written series. And, something I also want to make sure I talk about, ourselves before we go into community comments is his nen in regards to himself, which is something that is absolutely beautiful about Hunter x Hunter's power system in general, is just how it can relate to a character's, internal design. His nen ability reflects his personality so well it hurts. The concept of Emperor Time, you can almost see it as just that condition of just an hour every second. He might not have even needed a condition that harsh, but it's just he has so little care for himself that it's I'll just do that, whatever. It's probably the first thing he thought of. He probably didn't even have to think about it much.
Yeah,
it's
not at all.
An hour every second, whatever. Sure, that's probably enough. And that's probably all the thought he put into it, which in his eyes, it's this will help me see my goal. I can protect my friends with this. I can make sure that they live a good life. Never saying me. He doesn't care. He only cares about the people around him. And that it's great. I just love it so much.
It's so it's so interesting because it's a perspective thing too, because from the outside looking in, it kind of looks like very selfish things that he's doing literally all the time. But in his own head, it's a constant battle of exactly. do I do this selfish stuff for myself? Do I care about my friends or choose to care about them here? And that's what makes him so engaging to me.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a very tortured character.
Yes.
And I want him to come through on top, but who knows? It's very, as we've discussed many times, it's incredibly hard to predict Hunter x Hunter, to the point where really it could just depend on what Togashi's mood is that day he writes the chapter. Kurapika's journey can end in tragedy, or it could end beautifully. I mean, also beautiful tragedy is definitely a thing, but me and Dylan are definitely of the same opinion here, that we want him to have a happy ending.
I think that the ideal vibe for me is that eventually all comes to a head where he finally sees Gon again or something, with or without Nen, whatever, and then everything just comes pouring out of him, even at the sight of him, reminding him what's actually there, something along those lines. It doesn't have to be Gon, but I think that would be a very fitting thing given how long it's been since they've seen each other now, right? Like,
Yeah.
just something to remind them that there's more to this world than revenge. And, you know. Yeah.
And, you know, stuff like that is exactly why I feel that Kurapika's story does not end on this boat. Regardless of if he does end up dying at the end of his story, I don't think he dies here, at least. And it is tough. I could be completely wrong about that because I've said many times that I do see the Phantom Troop departing from the story on this boat. And if I say that Kurapika is going to survive the boat, that means I think that he's going to accomplish his goal and live. That's basically what I'm saying there in regards to what I've said in the past, at least. And do I really think that? I don't know. I want to believe it, but I don't know. I really don't know.
Who is to say but Takashi himself?
That's right. But I absolutely want to see him land on the Dark Continent. I want to see him meet up with Gon again at some point. I need those four back together before anything happens to any of them.
Yep.
I need it.
It needs to happen almost, I think. It's a necessity, I'd say.
Yeah. But yeah, for us, that's about it for Kurapika. We will revisit him again when there's more to talk about. We need to talk about Succession Contest more, but I wanted to refrain this time because there's enough to talk about him already before that, and there's not enough to talk about him really in the Succession Contest quite yet.
It's a Succession Contest is a lot of what ifs for the most part, but hopefully we did a good enough job of kind of summarizing some key stuff from there, even without going too in depth.
Yeah, got the basics down, I think. Obviously there's a lot that has happened with him, just smaller moments, but that's not what we're talking about here. All right. And now, I think finally, we are ready to see what you guys had to say about our boy Kurapika.
Yeah, let's get into it. Okay, now we are ready to read what you guys have to say about our boy Kurapika. Just as a reminder, as per usual, if you want to get in on the fun and, get your thoughts out for each episode, be sure to keep an eye out for community posts on the YouTube channel, as well as our socials on Bluesky and Twitter, or you can send us an email to our usual email listed at the beginning of the episode. Just want to know your thoughts, and we hope that you guys continue to submit, for future episodes to come. Thank you. So, starting off with the Twitter responses this week, we have one from Ed saying, in regards to the current arc, I still believe Kurapika has the highest potential. The persistent push and pull Tagashi's been doing for Kurapika's priorities is coming to an end, and if executed well, it will be one of the most rewarding moments in the series, I'm sure. That's putting it lightly almost, I feel like. I think it would absolutely be near the top, I think, in terms of payoffs if he sticks to landing with it, which I have full faith Tagashi would do for this character.
Yeah, 100%. He knows the path that this is going down. We just got to see it play out. It's going to be incredible. I have no doubt.
Absolutely. So
much potential there. I can't wait to see where this goes.
Yeah.
Next comes from Terror of Talos, who says, it always seemed like Kurapika having two end goals would be exploited at some point in regards to which one he truly prioritizes the most. Him eventually finding out the Phantom Troop is on the Black Whale will be such a crucial moment, and I can't wait to see his reaction to it, for better or worse. Yep, that's going to be quite the moment. I don't know how he's going to react, and it's kind of scary in a way.
I almost envision it like the one page from Chimera Ant with Gon finding out from P2 she can't revive Kite. It's all the different words floating around without thought bubbles. I almost picture something like that, a moment very esque of that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, the mental deterioration of Kurapika throughout this arc is very apparent, and that can only get worse adding in the Phantom Troop into the mix.
It'd be interesting to see how that's presented, though, at the same time, because he's very stone cold faced almost, and anytime you see him on the page. But we've seen a couple different times throughout Succession Contest, especially that when he's thinking to himself, he can be freaking out at points, but he's keeping it cool on the outside still the entire time. So, kind of wonder how that's going to be presented whenever he does find out.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, that's it for Twitter this week. We are moving on to the YouTube comments now. First up is from Canopsia, saying, "I think he's a very interesting foil and parallel to the Phantom Troop in his own way, and especially how he parallels with Crollo. But what I really like is the difference that sets him apart from Crollo and the Phantom Troop, and that being how he reacts to situations differently. In the scene after he kills Uvo, he's shown to be repulsed at having to kill, in comparison with the Phantom Troop, where they view killing as a normal occurrence, like taking out the trash or doing a chore, which is a juxtaposition, and I really like to see between Kurapika and the Spiders. I always like to hear people talk about Hunter x Hunter's use of comparison and contrast between characters. And yeah, that's a really good point, especially with Crollo, and that's something I think we didn't really touch upon within our earlier talks either. Yeah, those two are very much a parallel, between one another for a lot of different reasons.
100%. They are mirrors of each other in a way. Now that we know more of Crollo's past, that's a little more apparent than it was. We still don't have the full picture of Crollo, obviously, and to an extent, not even Kurapika really either. But from what we know of them, they're definitely parallels akin to Gon and Meruem kind of paralleling during Chimera Ant. In a way, it's a lot more evident, I would say, because obviously these two are actually, joined at the hip per se. Like we've seen them interact. They are going to come to a head at a point, where as Meruem and Gon never did. It's but they're different sides of the same coin. Again, this is all very loose in compare, because Gon and Meruem, it's a very direct thing. They're going down parallel journeys throughout their character arcs. But these two, they're almost going down the same journey. Where we could, if Kurapika were to go too far in one way, he could easily become a Crollo.
Yeah, and it's same. It's like the same road, but like different methods of travel, if that makes sense.
Right. That's it. That's how I should say. Yeah.
Like if you think about almost anything between the two, like they both lost stuff very near and dear to them at very young ages. And like that, they're both kind of driven by revenge in that aspect. They both kind of have very selfish desires while also trying to battle, fighting for what they still have in love, the troop and, Kurapika's friends and all that, right?
Yeah.
Even down to the abilities. They both have an ability that can steal Nen. But like the difference being, like Crollo's is a very selfish one where it's like it's all for him, and he has all these different rules to go along with how he can like use all these abilities at once. It's very selfish, like stealing ability. Whereas Kurapika's is designed to give to others. Like it's the little things like that. It's similar functions, different personalities kind of imbued within the character arcs, and those two were made for each other.
Yeah, and not only just giving to people, but also giving at a cost of himself. Because the entire time that somebody's got that ability, he's losing life.
That's right.
So it's
so
very very interesting, those two. But they both care about their friends. That is the one thing. That is the one sticking point. But yeah, there's a lot of different angles you can look at with those two. And I completely agree. Yeah, it's always fun to kind of compare and contrast between characters like that. Yeah. Hopefully one day whenever we do a Crollo retrospective, we can talk about that a little more, where we'll have more breathing room and something like that. Less to talk about in story. Absolutely. Next comes from Carolo B, who says he is a very tragic character. After witnessing the horrible events of his childhood, we understand his deep desire for revenge. However, we also see him wasting his life away. He formed beautiful bonds of friendship with Gon, Killua, and Leorio, and shared good times with the squad, but ultimately distanced himself from them to focus on his revenge. Also, due to the nature of his power, he is literally losing his life expectancy. There's absolutely no happy path for him. Abandoning his clan's honor and living, or completing his revenge but losing his life in the process. Maybe I'm too pessimistic and he will have a happy ending, but I doubt it. No, you're valid. Many people have this view, and I understand why. Look, I'm very pessimistic too. I'll be the first to admit that. Dylan knows that very well firsthand. But even I can see a path that is good for Kurapika. He doesn't have to end in tragedy.
But, who's to say also that he can't have a really happy and rewarding moment for his character before biting the dust also? That could be beautiful in its own right.
Absolutely, yeah. he could still have like a fulfilling ending, but still die. I mean,
Yeah.
very easily that could happen.
I
don't want it to happen, but it could.
Yeah, and I think it's also a good point to point this out again, in that, you know, we're not mind readers for Togashi, and like in a series like Hunter x Hunter, literally anything could happen. So like something that just kind of came to mind is like, I wonder how people were reacting whenever the whole situation with, you know, Gon was happening in Chimera Ant, and even after going into chairman election arc. Like, I wonder if there was any semblance of hope people had even then. Like, yep, this is a path for Gon. You know, he had all the potential in the world, but it's going to be a tragic ending, and it's going to be like juxtaposition to like all these themes that, you know, throughout the series. Like, I truly wonder sometimes if people were thinking along those lines, like for something like that, because I feel like it's not exactly comparable, but it's something to keep in mind that like our vibes and like how we perceive the story and where it will go, it's a constant ebb and flow. It'll constantly change.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody saw what happened to Gon coming. That was very unexpected.
Yeah, let alone being revived, you know, in the way that he was as well. Like, the lead up to that must have been insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's neither here or there. I'm kind of digressing a little bit, but yeah, I would encourage to keep an open mind, I think, because like there's a lot of different routes Kurapika specifically can go.
Yeah.
Okay, next up we have from Lentuna saying, Kurapika is definitely one of my favorite characters in fiction. He's multifaceted and difficult to fully understand like real people. I think he hit the nail on the head there, and that's kind of what we were getting at earlier. He's human, and he's very complex like humans. I guess that's just Togashi's way of beautifully writing characters, though. A warning, this may be long, my apologies. No, you're fine. Kurapika is a beautiful and tragic character, which, as much as I love him, I find myself equally questioning whether his pursuit for revenge is truly in the character's best interest. He reminds me of the quote, when you seek revenge, dig two graves. And although this theme was sort of touched on in York New, I think us readers will see more of that theme dissected in the current arc. He's Chrollo's foil, or juxtaposed other half, due to their painful past and Kurapika not choosing a path of murder. With his humanity intact but barely hanging on, contrary to Chrollo, I believe Kurapika's character will be explored further and he may change in unforeseen ways. So you're kind of just like hitting all the nails on the head that I was hitting on earlier. So I have a lot to agree with here, personally.
Yeah, 100%. Foil is the word I was looking for in regards to Chrollo. That's exactly it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you know, the more I reflect on what I said about Kurapika and not killing earlier, you're definitely right. That is more of a component of his character than I give it credit for. I guess it's more of a thing where he doesn't want to stoop as low as the troop because they kill without regard, whereas Kurapika wants to think about people as people instead of just trash.
Yeah. That's the key difference between their viewpoints.
So yeah, I guess I'll just say that I was wrong in describing how he viewed killing earlier, but I don't know. He would kill.
It's complicated.
I feel like it's so complicated. Like and the other thing about how he is now is he's very different. He has changed, like we've talked about, in ways that it's hard to even exactly pinpoint because they're subtle changes, but they're apparent enough that it's just like it's got cogs turning. Like, does he still view killing the same way? I don't know. He hasn't been faced with that issue in this arc yet. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just, man, it just shows you how deep and complex this character is. It's very hard to pinpoint him on a microscopic level like that.
Yeah, he's multifaceted, like you said. It's hard. It's genuinely difficult to kind of like get an accurate description of what he's going through and all these different themes. But that's the beauty.
Yeah. And it's also, you know, a better way to word it that just kind of came to mind is like, depending on where you're looking at Kurapika in the story, your mind kind of gets warped on how to view him. And especially with me right now, my head, I've been rewatching the anime, and I also, you know, I'm talking about the manga like all the time. My head's all over the place with him because he's all over the place too. So it's just so hard to get like a solid image of him and how he thinks and what he would do because we really don't know. Mm-hmm. He's unpredictable.
Only Kurapika knows. That's the beauty of it.
That's right.
Everybody else around him, you know, even thinking to succession contest was like Hanzo, right? Like nobody can read his mind. Nobody knows what he's thinking, and that's an ongoing theme with him. Only he knows.
Yep.
It's stuff only it's battles only Kurapika can fight, and that kind of includes the readers as well. Like we can't really read into it too heavily, or not heavily.
Yep.
That's not the right word, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay, next comes from 96 Wacko X Jacko 96. All right. I love Kurapika. I've been rewatching York New City recently and have also been crafting theories the whole time. In one of the recent episodes I watched after being captured, Crollo deduced that Kurapika's weakness is that he will put his friends over his plans. I think this still holds true and is relevant in the current arc, considering his childhood friend's head is sitting in a room somewhere unbeknownst to him. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Serednich at all.
Man.
Kurapika doesn't even really know anything about him yet. So
they again, it kind of goes back to the whole like they haven't even encountered each other. So like it will happen, and there will be a lot to talk about when it does happen. But it's all kind of set up.
Yeah. The moment he sees it, everything else he's currently focused on will be thrown out the window. Yeah, I've talked about that too before in our theory episode. This could spell the end to Kurapika. However, if it comes to that, I firmly believe Leorio will revive him with his medical skills.
Revival. Okay. Ooh, okay.
Hey. Leorio isn't just there for fan service. He'll be Kurapika's support when he needs it most. I hope you're right.
Oh, man, that'd be thematic. Wow.
Not only would this be a way Togashi's interview answer where he said Kurapika will die. Oh yeah, that's also I should have thrown that in fun facts. He has said that before.
Has he? Really?
Yeah, he has straight up said that, but
Okay.
I still don't see that as fact.
There, you could if it's something as simple as that could mean a lot of different things. Like it's up to Togashi's interpretation.
Yeah, if that comes true, but also it will give Leorio the catharsis of being able to save a friend. I also like the idea of Kurapika surviving the troop and making his Nen change. Oh. Maybe like a mirror of what happened to Gon, or maybe due to post-mortem Nen. If his Nen changed, what do you think that would look like?
I guess.
I don't know, but
that could be anything.
Yeah, we are not the Nen speculation guys. We can't. We're not built for that.
No, that's like. I'd have to spend days trying to be creative with something like that, unfortunately.
I remember when we got asked, like, somewhat recently to try to figure out what Borkson's Nen ability under Moreno was going to be, and we all just, like, sat there scratching our heads. We're not Nen speculation people. No. But that is an interesting concept of Nen after death, but still being alive, like, through some sort of revival. I wonder if that is possible.
It does. I mean, there is a question of like if Kurapika were to survive, past the troop being a thing, like, what use would the chains be? I mean, obviously stuff like dowsing chain you can use like literally wherever, right? But
yeah.
Like, some of that stuff is specifically made for fighting the troop, so it's kind of like, what use are those now if the troop is no longer a problem, if they're no longer around? Something to think about. I
mean, definitely in Kurapika's mind, he kind of just doesn't care. Like, he just views his Nen ability to serve that goal, and then, honestly, he probably just thinks he'll die. But,
right. But I do like the idea of, like, through a revelation and kind of seeing the other stuff that matters past the troop, if, like, if he were to stick around, something to change with his Nen to kind of go along with that as well. I think that could be really cool. Yeah,
100%. This next one I should probably read, just looking ahead briefly, because I don't I do want to see how you pronounce this stuff, but I'll save you, Dylan, don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
Hey guys, Future Cage jumping in real quick to say that I forgot to say this commenter's name before I read it, so this comes from 187 Blackheart. So thanks to them for the comment, and sorry for not saying your name in the recording. That's my bad. So the inspiration behind Sasuke, the Sharingan base abilities, the Uchiha Massacre, and Prince Wobol's Nen Beast. I like this character. Hopefully we get to see him in at least one more 1v1 battle before he enhances Emperor Time and sheds its costly restriction. So yeah, obviously, Dylan, you'll have no idea what I'm talking about here, but let me yap for a second.
I have a confession to make, guys. I have never watched or read Naruto.
No, he hasn't. But
I'm
he did
sorry.
see a panel where Yuri Lowenthal talked about it.
I did.
At MomoCon.
It was very entertaining. I liked it.
Yeah, it's great. But yes, Sasuke obviously is basically just Kurapika in almost every regard. He's like a Kurapika Killua fusion. I don't know if you've ever heard people talk about that, Dylan, but it's very evident. He's the sole survivor of a clan that could turn their eyes red, and he also has a brother who he wants to get revenge on. That brings in the Killua aspect.
So funny enough, I did know all of that pretty much.
Okay.
If there's one character I know a decent amount about from just like pure out of context the conversations I've seen over the years, it's definitely Sasuke.
Yeah. It's very evident. There isn't much you can really say beyond their concepts. Like, Kurapika is absolutely not going to go down the path that Sasuke did. That is not in the cards. See, what some of you can say, I guess, is Sasuke is basically what Kurapika would be if he went down more of a Crollo-esque path of revenge. Like, taking it out on the world rather than just... Well, he's still taking it out on people, but the people who did it at the very least. Sasuke just like, all right, fuck everything. I'm just killing everybody. I don't care. But yeah, extremely similar characters, and I'm glad we got Sasuke. I do like Sasuke quite a bit. He's definitely more flawed than Kurapika is on a writing level. But yeah, if not for Kurapika, we wouldn't have Sasuke, so that's cool. And yeah, I do agree. I hope we get one more 1v1. There's no doubt we will. We're definitely gonna get one, but who knows when?
It'll be with someone. We just don't know who.
Yeah, I can't even really predict who.
Yeah. Very nice, though. Very nice. Next up comes from Insert Name. A lot of people are obviously going to talk about how great a character is, and they are right to do so, but I think it's fun to discuss some of the downsides that comes from Kurapika's presence in the story. Oh, okay.
Let's hear it.
I'm listening. Kurapika is an odd character in the story that is in a short period of time, or he's an odd character in the story, is that in a short period of time he goes from completely unaware of Nen to a Nen user on par with the highest practitioners in the setting. We were kind of talking about that earlier, right? Just how fast he learned it. This is intended as an expression of the unique nature of Nen and how resolve can fuel Nen growth, and in many ways it is effective at this purpose. But viewed in a greater context, this growth is simply too rapid and actually damages the understanding of what true genius and normal Nen development is in the setting. As we learn more about Nen, the Phantom Troop only get more and more daunting, making the achievements in York New all the more unlikely. Gon and Killua are rare talents, but despite this, Kurapika learns not only how to develop Hatsu, but numerous higher applications of the art before the two geniuses even learn the basics of the art form. Some of this growth can be explained, but even then, many of the explanations are only elaborated well into the story when Kurapika is reintroduced, so the perspective a reader may take is misguided for a considerable portion of the story. This is...
I don't think I agree so far, but I'm gonna let you keep going.
Yeah, let's finish this paragraph first. Kurapika, having developed essentially 5 Hatsu and training in things like Ko and Gyo at the pace, is a major outlier. Even beyond this, his role in the Succession War as our resident Nen expert, while I greatly appreciate having a competent true hunter in charge who is calculated and discerning, poses legitimate questions about how he has learned this information on Nen and is able to make these determinations. Kurapika absolutely gains in capability based on the needs of the story that I think diminish the difficulty and journey Nen is supposed to represent. By his presence, you have to consider why every other Nen user is so much less competent. That's an interesting perspective. I think you have more stuff to immediately say on it, Kaige. I'm still trying to think on it.
Yeah, I would have to think about it, I guess, to truly get my thoughts out, but I'll just kind of blurt something out, I guess. I don't agree with a lot of, modestly, all of this, I will say. I get it, but, and Insert Name, you've commented enough. I feel like I know you're not like a power scaler, but this reads to me like something a power scaler would say. And I don't know. It's taking it a little too... Well, it's not taking it too seriously. That's not the right way to put it. But it's like too literally, maybe.
That's what I'm thinking. But like also like this is just kind of like I feel like your perspective on this really matters a lot too, because one, we kind of talked about it earlier in our discussion. One can simply view how fast he learned Nen as just like fueled by his determination specifically, wanting to achieve his goals and wanting to, get further along in finding those eyes and whatnot, right? And eliminating the troop. So like you could view that as like that alone makes him like a genius, so to speak, right? Like in the same way that Gon and Killer are kind of like prodigies, Kurapika is just born straight from drive. And that could be just as powerful depending on the perspective you have. So like, while I don't really, I can see your reasoning as to why you think maybe that's like a hindrance in terms of like, comparing all the other nin users around him and like their competence with it. I think that's maybe not giving Kurapika enough credit for, the writing that he has for his character.
Absolutely. And yeah, the thing, because you even say it yourself about how, nen or like drive fuels nen. And of the main four, even, Kilo and Gon are often said to be like nen geniuses. They're prodigies. But Kurapika has the drive that none of the other four have, or not the other three. Like, Gon obviously wants to find his dad. That is a definite goal. But I don't think that's something you can develop a nen ability on, at least not one that Gon would be interested in developing.
And it was also said multiple times throughout the series, like made very poignant that like that's a very like superficial reason for Gon, all things considered.
Yeah. Yeah. It ended up really not even being what he really wanted.
Yeah, that's what he discovered at the end.
Yeah. So in a way, Gon kind of wasn't driven at all. He thought he was.
Yes.
But Kurapika from go is driven. He knows what he wants. He will do it. He's willing to die for it. And that right there, that what I just said, willing to die for it. Look at Gon in Chimera Ant. He is willing to die to kill Pito. So he, in that moment, develops this something that
we don't even know
what he did. And that was in a second. So in Kurapika had months at least. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you're looking at the broader picture. Insert name. You're very intelligent. You write a lot of great things, but I don't know. I'm not on board with this one. I'll just be real.
Yeah, we're on the same boat there. But I do appreciate the perspective. It's interesting.
Yeah. For sure.
Let me read the rest of this. I also fear his popularity hindered the story in places, causing him to disproportionately take the air out of the room with characters like Leorio. This one is a little bit more reasonable from the get-go, I think.
That makes sense.
Kurapika is a candle burning brightly, and for a short time, but the story does seem to desperately lack the character who is living for the moment and for a goal. Leorio, I think, was clearly meant to represent as a counterbalance. I wonder if the story would be better for less of Kurapika and more of other casts as a way of creating contrast to his character. Maybe. I think I guess this is with the power of hindsight, right? Granted.
Yeah.
But I could definitely think of some like early Succession War chapters that like maybe could have been better used seeing what like Leorio was up to and kind of like maybe driving the contrast home a little bit more rather than focusing solely on Kurapika. I think there was probably some room for that to be showcased more. I could agree to that to an extent.
Yeah. At least in, Succession contest in particular, Kurapika is definitely stealing Leorio's spotlight. Warranted, probably, but I do think that's Togashi's fault. Leorio could have a role here. He's just not letting him.
Yeah.
And yes, he did just have a lot of him in the arc right before it, but come on. And I do truly believe he's going to be able to shine later, but I think all of us are kind of... Every Hunter x Hunter fan has this thought in their mind where Succession Contest is going to be the last thing we see, and we're not going to go past it. We're all facing it. We just got to talk about it. That is real.
It's a real epidemic. Yeah.
And we don't know if we're going to get that Leorio arc. Whether or not it's in his plans, and which I promise you it is, I promise you if we get to see this story in full, there is going to be something for Leorio. But whether or not we get to see it is the scary thing.
Yep.
And that's why I think it feels especially harmful right now, where he's there, but we're not allowed to see him.
All right, so we're 1-1 now with your viewpoints here made up for the last one. That said, Kurapika is simply fantastic. He brings a mature and logical perspective that is not as present in the rest of the main cast, and in many ways fits the ambitions and benefits of a world with Nen in it better than any of them. Gon and Killua in many ways are terrible hunters at this stage in the story. Yeah, actually.
No, they are. They are.
They run at their problems with reckless abandon and are extraordinarily lucky they encountered guardians and mentors who are able to guide them in the right direction. Yeah, imagine if they didn't go back to or rather, if you think back to when Kite died, or not, he didn't die there in that moment, I guess, but when Kite was about to fight P2. Imagine if Gon and Killua didn't happen to run into Moral, Shoot, and Netero at the time that they did, as they were escaping, essentially. Kind of think about it like that. They probably would have maybe just straight up ran in and died themselves if they were to try and go back.
Well, I don't think Killua would have let that happen, but
maybe not. But then that also shows his weakness as a character and hunter in general, right? He just kind of gives up.
Yeah, exactly. A weakness that he would overcome shortly, but he didn't at that point.
Yes. Kurapika, on the other hand, thinks ahead of time, analyzes the situation, and solves problems in ways more beneficial to a hunter. Nen is incredibly dangerous, and it's very easy to punch up, so it's amazing to see a character actually respond to these dangers in a realistic way, not to mention the emotional resonance of his story.
Absolutely. Very well said there. Yeah. Kurapika is, of the main four, he is the hunter. This guy is what a hunter is. You look at all the pros we've seen so far, Moral, Nove, they're... And Kurapika fits right in. This guy's a pro hunter. He's a Zodiac at age 19 for a reason. He's very capable.
Yeah, very, very smart guy, and that's very evident just in how he presents himself in general too. So, couldn't agree more there.
Next one is from CRHJ2HK, who says, "It's not really hard to imagine how it would go if he encounters Seri or Crollo. There are a lot of theories around it. I'm most curious about what's going on with Wobble. Since the beginning, we got those panels of Kurapika reminding me of the one you used here. Oh, and in this call-out post, I used the image of Kurapika smiling in York New City. The one you used here, his smile, watching Gon and Killua. So I wonder how his relationship will influence his decision in the near future in the middle of the chaos incoming. Will he become stronger or weaker? Can he be saved? Will Leorio play a part in his trajectory or not? What about his other friends? I want him to learn the truth about his village, but is it going to heal, hurt, or destroy him?" Well, given that we don't even really know the truth about his village currently, it's very hard to predict that. But in regards to everything else, we've talked at length about Leorio at this point. Hopefully. And his other friends, not on the boat, guys, not happening. But hopefully in the future, yes. Gon and Killua absolutely play some kind of role.
We need it.
If he makes it off.
We need it. Yeah, I believe it will happen if we get there, but it's not on the boat, guys. I'm sorry to say. Stop thinking about it. Even if you're not actually. I'm putting out the world for everybody. Looking at you, Redditors. Stop thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. And about Wobble, obviously we haven't explored it a whole lot so far, but that is absolutely something that's gonna come to a head at some point too. This sort of, it's very hard to explain what that relationship is without getting too off the rails. There's something there, and seeing that come to a head will be very interesting. I just can't say how right now, because we just haven't seen enough. But that, obviously. The panel of him first holding Wobble that's one of my favorites. I love that panel so much, and I think by the end of this arc, we're going to look back at that a lot differently too.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right, next up is from Binky Brew saying, "I just love how principled he is. Despite going through a lot and losing more and more of himself in his journey and becoming ruthless at times, he still is kind. That part of himself is still there and overpowers his rage compared to Gon. He gave up killing Crollo for Gon and Killua. His genuine concern for Queen Oito and the way he held Wobble. His newfound friendship with Bill. There's just so much kindness in this guy. I don't think for a second that he'd sacrifice Wobble and Queen Oito in exchange for the eyes. That's just how selfless he is. It's also his downfall. He's aware of his attachments and his nature, and he's so scared of losing his loved ones that he isolates himself. There you go. This behavior is self-destructive, and I do think that's what will cause his death on the boat. So, death on the boat, believer. Fair enough. I can't really.
I get it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not shitting on anybody saying that. I get it. I know where you're coming from.
But no,
I echo what you said. 100%.
Yeah, and you worded it beautifully there too. Like, he's so scared of losing his loved ones that he isolates himself, and that's the key term that maybe I was lacking earlier in our discussions. Isolation. He completely isolates himself from the world, out of his, his fear of trying to balance, what he wants, out of fear of losing his loved ones, out of fear that he won't be able to avenge his clan, right? Like, there's a lot of stuff on his mind, obviously, as layered of a character as he is. So the fact that he kind of automatically isolates himself as a result of it is very sad. And it is self-destructive for sure.
100%. All right, next comes from Edokava, who says his fight with Uvogin is easily my favorite in the anime. Kurapika's actions should be righteous, but he isn't fighting to prevent another massacre. His main drive... Wow, that's actually an excellent point. Okay, I will talk about that in a second. His main drive is just to make the spiders suffer as much as he did. So you could almost say that Uvogin is the true winner, since Kurapika never gets the satisfaction of breaking his spirit. Absolutely.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is excellent point. He's not like some hero. He's not like, I gotta take these spiders down so they don't do what other people did to me. So they don't do to other people what they did to me. He's doing this for himself. He just wants revenge. There's never been a point ever where he's been like, I can't let this happen to somebody else. Like that doesn't cross his mind.
Yeah, actually, I guess the one instance where it did happen. Well, no. Yeah, no, his entire goal of, like, eliminating the troop, it's entirely rooted in just, like, avenging his clan. That's it. It's never for his friends. The one time, or the closest situation you could argue that it kind of relates to that, is when, he saved Gon and Killua and York knew. And he decided to kind of forego that whole conflict and to be able to save them, right?
But those are his friends, though. I think those are the exception. If this was random people, I don't know if he would care as much. It's hard to say. This is what we keep talking about. Kurapika is very hard to predict in that regard. Maybe he would care. I don't know.
At the same time, though, we all saw the troop massacre happen in Yorkney, right? Killing like 2,000 soldiers or whatever the number was, right? Like all the ransacking the streets. Did Kurapika ever show a single ounce of care about that event specifically?
No,
I don't think he did.
That may be because, it's overshadowed by his emotions about them all being dead. But that right there is enough to show that, any feelings he has about all these people being dead was outweighed by seeing his enemies dead. Yep. That says a lot. The death of his enemies affected him emotionally more than 2,000 some odd people.
Yeah.
That's massive. And I think that says a lot.
Random innocent lives just kind of just murdered in cold blood, and he could not care at all because he was so filled with emotions about his dead enemies, or what he thought was his dead enemies,
right?
Like that. That says a lot. Like you said.
Amazing point, Edokava. That's a great comment. Thank you.
Very, very good comment. And then one last comment before we wrap up the episode, we're running a little bit short on time now, is from the Young Knight. My second favorite character behind Killua. Okay, respectable. I admire his ability to remain decisive and disciplined, as well as calm and rational even when in peril and emotional turmoil. I think two incredibly underrated moments from his character are when he holds Wobble and looks at her somberly, and when he used Stealth Dolphin. I can't speak. People always look at the Stealth Dolphin scene as just another cool showcasing of his ability, but I love the character development it shows, since the ability requires collaboration, which tells us that this ability was developed by Kurapika coming to terms with the fact that he can't find success without occasionally being willing to rely on others. Okay, yeah. My favorite moment is when the rest of the gang bring him out of the slump he was in due to thinking the troop had died.
Yep.
That smile in the picture you guys presented is my favorite moment.
Me too. That's also, yeah, I didn't talk about that. Oh yeah, we didn't talk about favorite Kurapika moments, but that's something I wanted to talk about. But that is also right there. You just said it. That's my favorite Kurapika moment as well. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, it would be hard for me to find a specific Kurapika moment that I love. I mean, like that they're all so good to me, right? But that's up there for sure. It would be hard for me to rank a number one. But yeah, very, very good moment for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I didn't talk about it much because that's probably something we'll talk about in like a sequel to this video. But yeah, the stealth dolphin stuff. Oh, actually, maybe I should have included that in the Izunavi part because we do flash back to them talking about developing stealth dolphin. Maybe I should have probably put that there, but that's on me. But that there is that whole struggle there of Kurapika getting annoyed at Izunavi, who really wants Kurapika to acknowledge that he can't do what he wants to do alone. So he compromises with developing stealth dolphin, which that's also a great moment because whenever actually in relation to this, during the moment where he does use stealth dolphin for the first time on screen, we see him reflecting on that very moment where he smiles in the park.
Yeah, actually,
that says a lot. That moment led him to actually use that ability. I could have seen him never even using that ability. He just developed it to shut Izunavi up. But maybe York knew is what led him to actually want to use it.
Yeah, wait a minute. That's actually kind of a really cool detail because, yeah, like you said, it's presented as if he created Stealth Dolphin essentially just to give in to Izunavi's demands. Like, okay, whatever. Like, fine, I'll have one ability that can collaborate with others, right? But it wasn't until maybe York knew, but maybe even... We don't know if he used Stealth Dolphin hardly at all, I guess, after York knew.
Yeah, well, we don't know what he did.
But we don't know what he's been up to with the Strahd family. But, like, I like the idea also that, like, being on the boat and realizing he's, like, really wants to protect this baby, right? It's like, I have reasons enough to actually use this ability now. There's something nice about that. Like, that ability only being used after he comes to a realization, whether it be from one moment or another.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all the comments we have to read for today. We apologize if we weren't able to get to your comment, from the YouTube community posts. If you guys, if you listeners out there are interested in reading some more thoughts from the community, be sure to go check out, Twitter, Bluesky, YouTube community posts, wherever, to see if there's anything that, maybe we didn't read here. There's a lot of good stuff every single week that we may or may not always have time to get through, and we encourage you guys to check them all out for yourselves and interact with everybody.
Yeah. I want to give a specific shout out actually to Weary Exile. I was really hoping we'd get to his, but we didn't. That was a really good comment. So go check that one out, please. That was good. I was looking forward to talking about that, but oh well, we're running out of time.
Yeah, it's running a little long, unfortunately.
And also, I want to acknowledge we did get many, many comments about the fact that Kurapika is really hot. Obviously, didn't include any of them, but I want to acknowledge the Hunter Association here. We do acknowledge Kurapika is a good-looking guy.
He is a very attractive person. that is, I can acknowledge that.
All right. And with that, guys, this has been the Hunter Association. Thank you so much for listening. We are available on all major podcasting platforms, as well as YouTube for the video version. Be sure to follow, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You can also follow us on Twitter at TXHXAPod, as well as Bluesky at THAPod, for updates on the show and as an alternative way to submit responses to the weekly call-out posts. As always, we'll be here the same time every week talking about Hunter x Hunter. Dylan, where can people find you online?
Yeah, you can find me at DJ Tengen. That's DJTENGEN on Twitter and Bluesky. Yeah, not really a lot to say. I am active on those platforms. Whether I post anything or not has been kind of up in the air lately. But, you can find me there if you want to interact with me or just kind of see what I'm up to, what I'm reposting.
Hell yeah. And I am Kaige10, KIIGE10 on Bluesky. I just recently finished reading Yu Yu Hakusho for the first time. I had seen the anime. Yeah. That wasn't my first time, far from my first time seeing the story, but it was my first time reading the manga, and that was a great ride. So You can go see my thoughts on that there, as well as my end of year thread I just put up recently.
That was a very good read, I gotta say.
Thank you.
That. Yeah, a lot of good picks there too. Maybe some unexpected picks for most other people out there. I feel like not many people are really gonna like talk about like your like ending or like ED of the year specifically.
I don't. That's an underrated pick. I think that's a sleeper hit.
And I think that's purely based off of the fact that not everybody watches One Piece, unfortunately. But
yeah, especially this Fishman Island thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, go check that thread out if you want. I put some work into that. It was fun.
Yeah.
And as for the show, let's talk about our schedule a bit coming up for the year. First of all, next weekend, guys, on Saturday at 1 p.m., we are doing our live stream where we will announce the winner to that giveaway right there for the 2011 Complete Series on Blu-ray.
All 7 of them.
So please remember to enter before Saturday. This is the final reminder on the show right here. This is it. The last time we will speak of this on an episode. So go enter and be there, be square on the live stream where we will be playing some Hunter x Hunter games, doing a Q&A, and also make sure to submit questions to the Q&A on Twitter, Bluesky, or YouTube community posts.
Yep, and remember for the giveaway, it's open to U.S. and Canadian residents only. We apologize for any inconvenience that may cause, just how it is right now. And yeah, you can find the link to that giveaway in the description below, or you can check out our socials as well if you want to find the link there.
Yes, sir. And as for next week's episode, beyond the live stream, we are going to be doing an episode on the Hisoka one-shot by Ueda, the author of Tokyo Ghoul.
Yeah.
So this is a 70-page beefy chapter here. I'm very much looking forward to talking about this and checking it out. I've never read it, neither has Dylan, so this is new to both of us. And of course, we'll be reaching out to you guys to get your thoughts on it. So if you want to read it before that post goes up, be sure to do that now. The post will probably go up on Tuesday or Wednesday. I want to give the Q&A post some time to breathe, so maybe a little later in the week. We'll see. But yeah, either way, we'll see you on Saturday for the live stream and Sunday for that episode as well. And we'll talk about the rest of the schedule for the year. Oh, we do. I'll talk about this now since it's actually pretty close at this point. We will have another off week where we might have a bonus episode. We still got to iron out the details on that on the 26th. Because we will be at a convention. I guess I'll mention it. We'll be at Frosty Faustings in Chicago. If any of you guys happen to be there, say hi. I probably not too much crossover. It's a fighting game event.
Probably not. Yeah, I would imagine not. But I mean, a lot of fighting games to be there. A lot of fighting game players love anime. I think that's a safe thing to say. So
that's true. So hey, anybody happens to be there, if you're around Chicago, go ahead and buy tickets. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I'd be kind of shocked, honestly, if any of you were to be there also. That'd be very cool. So
that'd be mind-blowing. But hey, you can blow our minds, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll be at Frosty Faustings the weekend of the 26th. Maybe expect a bonus episode for that week if we find the time to do so. But just letting you guys know ahead of time that, it'll be an off week technically.
Yep. And we'll tell you what the episode between that will be at the end of next episode.
Yeah.
So anybody who tunes in for the live stream, we'll see you on Saturday. And hey, be there. Audio listeners, check out YouTube too. Be there, be square.
Yeah, give the YouTube a little bit of a chance, some love.
Yeah.
Over 1,000 subscribers strong, and we can't appreciate you guys enough for that. So thank you very much.
Yes. And if we don't see you there, which you better be there, but we will see you on Sunday for the episode on the Hisoka one-shot. So see you guys then. Thanks for watching and listening.
Thank you guys.